Hey guys, it's Adrian over BHA here, bringing you the latest product review video. So the great folks over at Qubino sent me over a Z-Wave wireless dimmer. Now this little guy is extremely small and will fit inside your wall box. It looks awesome and definitely wanted to check it out. I haven't heard much about any of their products before, so I was very interested in what they had to offer. So let's check it out. Alright, so I'm not going to lie to you, this thing is a little on the pricey side. It comes in just under $60, which is a little high, but it has several features which I think are super beneficial. One of them being, like I said, the size of it. It's very small, which makes it very easy to put into tight places. The other side of it is it will also work in a 2-wire setup versus the 3-wire. So if you don't have a neutral, they have a way for this to work without that neutral wire. So that's pretty cool too. So, I mean, you're going to pay a little extra for those features if you want to give this thing a shot. But, of course, it's Z-Wave, so I feel like it's going to work pretty well with my other Z-Wave products. So we're going to check it out. We're going to see what all we can do with it. Nonetheless, it'll give you an alternative to some of the other Z-Wave products that are available out there today. So let's do a quick run-through of everything we're going to cover in this video. So, of course, for starters, we're going to unbox the device. Once we do that, then of course we will install that device in our wall. Once we have it installed, since it's Z-Wave and you know me, I'll be adding it into smarttthings. Once it's added, we will have to do some configuration in smarttthings in order for it to work properly. Then we'll get it added into Home Assistant. And lastly, we'll show you what that looks like in action. So let's get started. So there's not a whole lot to the packing. You get this little bitty box here. This thing, like I said, it is extremely small, probably the smallest that I've ever seen. It is definitely much smaller than the Shelly 1. Probably smaller than the Sonoff Mini as well. The only thing you really get in the box is the device itself and then instructions on how to add it to some of the different Z-Wave hubs and gateways that are available, as well as instructions for the 2-wire or 3-wire install of the device. Let's go ahead and move on to that next step. Alright, so I'm planning on putting this in my master bedroom. So I've done a video on this wall switch in the past. It was a ZemiSmart dimmable, touch screen switch. I don't even remember what it was called. The problem was it was not wife friendly. So my wife did not like the switch at all. She didn't like that you had to touch the little LED screen in order for it to go on and off. It was really just kind of a pain to her, and so decided that this is the way to go. We're going to install this mini dimmer inside the wall with just a regular Decora toggle switch, and I think it'll work out better for her. We'll still have the dimming capabilities. We can ask Alexa to dim it or dim it through Home Assistant and everything. I think overall that will make her much happier. Alright, so I've got everything wired in and kind of tucked back into the wall. I went ahead and turned the breaker back on for this this outlet just to make sure that everything at least got power correctly, the fan still works and everything. And everything looks good at this point, so I think we are good to go ahead and finish screwing everything down and putting the wall plate on and everything. And so everything is wired up, the wall plate's put back on. As far as I can tell, everything works, but it looks like, from my understanding, the way that the mini dimmer runs by default, it kind of acts as a push button versus a toggle. So we're going to have to do some configuration changes on the mini dimmer in order for it to act the way we want it to. Let's go ahead and move on to that next step and get it added into smarttthings. So in order to get it in pairing mode, the easiest way to do that is basically just as soon as you turn your breaker back on, when this thing first powers up, it automatically goes into pairing mode. So basically what I did is I turned the breaker back on and immediately started searching for it with smartthings app. And just after a little while, it came right up. Sees it as a Z-Wave dimmable switch, so I think we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to call it Bedroom Lights. Now that we have it added, let's go ahead and jump over to the next step and configure it in smartthings. All right, so like I said before, this switch by default doesn't uh, come as a toggle switch. It's more of a push button switch. Not a big deal. We can make the change. Unfortunately, there's not an easy way to make that change in smartthings. I talked with Qubino support, and unfortunately, the only way to really do that is to use a custom device handler called the Z-Wave Tweaker. Basically, we'll set up this device to use the Z-Wave Tweaker device handler, and from there, we'll be able to make the changes that we need to make in order for this device to work as a toggle switch. So we'll need to copy this device handler here, and then we're going to go into the smartthings IDE, and we'll go ahead and add in a custom device handler, which will be the Z-Wave Tweaker. Once we have the new device handler set up, then we're going to go back over to the device in smartthings and point it at that device handler so that we can then make the changes that we need to make. All right, so I have it pointed at the tweaker device handler. So back in the app on my phone, we're going to go into settings here. We'll scroll down to the section for changing the parameters. Based on the information that I got from Qubino support, the parameter ID that I need to change is parameter ID 1, and we need to set it to 1. So we're going to do that here, parameter ID 1. This setting or value that we want to set will also be 1. Once you have that in there, you'll save it. It'll have to sync up and everything. But once it's synced up, then we have to go back into the smartthings IDE and set our device back to the Z-Wave dimmable switch. Once we do that, then the toggle switch and everything should work the way we want it to. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step and get it added into Home Assistant. All right, so obviously if you're using the SmartThings integration, adding devices into Home Assistant is super easy. There's not a whole lot that you really need to do. In fact, if you wait long enough, it should pick it up on its own. If you're impatient like I am, doing a quick restart of Home Assistant should pick up the devices as it repulls the SmartThings hub. And as you can see here, it's called Bedroom Lights. Click on that. Of course, it even pulls in the sensor data so we can see what the power usage is on that particular switch as well. Other than that, it looks good to go. Let's go ahead and move on to that last step, and we're going to see it in action. Alright, so in the top I got my fan with the light on it so you can see it. On the left is smarttthings, and on the right is Home Assistant for that switch. We're going to make all of our changes in Home Assistant and just kind of see how everything lines up. It's already on, so we're going to turn it off. The light itself is pretty quick. smarttthings is a little bit slower to respond, but it does eventually catch up. We'll turn it back on and play around with the different settings here. Looks like it works pretty well. For the most part, it's pretty responsive. I mean, Home Assistant and the light itself seem pretty responsive. smarttthings takes a little bit to catch up. Not really sure why on that, but that's not much of an issue for me. That's the end of the video, guys. Like I said, this thing is extremely small. You will have no problem fitting it into your wall box without any issues whatsoever. And the fact that you can use it with a 2-wire setup, I know that will help a lot of people that struggle with putting smart switches in their house when everything always requires a neutral line. That being said, it's still on the pricey end. If you're looking at different choices, there's probably some cheaper options out there that will do close to the same thing. Nonetheless, jump over to Qubino's website, check out what else they have to offer. Like I said before, I hadn't seen a whole lot on them, so I was very interested to see what they had to offer. So let's do a quick run through of everything we covered in this video. So again, we started by unboxing the device. Once we did that, we installed it in the wall. After that, we added it into smarttthings, and then we had to do some configuration in smarttthings. Then we got it added into Home Assistant. And lastly, I showed you what that looked like in action. Again, that's the end of the video, guys. Definitely worth checking out. If nothing else, just seeing what all they have to offer. Like I said, it's a little on the pricey side, but I do think that for some people, it's definitely worth it when you look at the ability to be able to use the 2-wire setup. Also, the size being so small, making it very easy to fit into your wall box. I want to thank everybody for donating to my Buy Me a Coffee link. Every little bit helps. If you haven't had a chance, jump over to my Burns Home Automation Teespring merchandise page to check out all the Burns Home Automation merchandise. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comments below. As always, if there are any videos out there that you would like to see that I don't already have out there, let me know in the comments as well, and I'll see if I can't get something put together for you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around. Thanks.